Greetings and welcome back, BUSN-1360, Software Apps for Business Students. I'm Dr. McGrory, and today we're diving into Word Chapter 2, our Skill Review 2.1 project. So this chapter is all about formatting text. So let's jump into it. I'm going to close my slides and let me start with pause. As you know, you log into our course in pause, navigate to content, and then as you look through the folders, we're currently in Module 4 of Word. And I'm just going to briefly point out that in Word Chapter 1, as I'm completing these videos, you'll see the link to the video. So this is your guided step-by-step through the process. Now, of course, we're creating the video right now for Word Chapter 2, but I'm here to support you because what these assignments are about is learning. I want you to learn the skill, so I'm going to demonstrate it to you. The book is a great resource, tells you step by step exactly what to do, the ebook, and so we're using that. Now, as we come into Word Chapter 2, you have your learning objectives. I didn't click on those last time. Let's just look. 21 things that you're going to learn about formatting text and paragraphs. But as you can see, we're going to go through these kind of quickly because you may already know how to bold, italicize, and underline. If you're a true beginner, you're just real new to this, that's okay. You're going to learn about these skills in SimBook. I am here to show you in the Practice Skills project. So, we're going to go through each one of these, but this is a lot of really cool things. You may or may not already know about the Format Painter. I love the Format Painter. Makes it really easy to apply formatting that has taken 3 or 4 or 5 clicks to set up on one sentence and apply it to another sentence. Okay, so we'll learn more about this. It could be just a single word. Line spacing, those formatting marks, all these, even tabs. Tabs are something a lot of Word users never really understand. So you're going to learn about these and how to be very efficient in your tasks. So, these are our learning objectives for Word Chapter 2. You have the slides as a quick reference. Always begin by completing the SimBook. And once you've completed the SimBook and you've learned those essential skills, then come to the skill review. I call it project, the skill review project. Now, as you know, I don't have a student account that links, so I have to log in separately to SimNet. Once again, we see our familiar 3 steps. We need to download the files. We need to do our work. That's the step they're not showing there, right? Do our work. Then we're going to upload, and then we're going to submit for grading. Now, you can review the best practices down here if you need to do that. If you've already attempted this particular assignment and you want to return to some work that you're doing, you can click on previous attempts. I'm going to click on instructions because that's what we're going to use. Now, I showed you last time, this is the solution file and this is the start file. Remember that we always need to start with that start file because it's uniquely coded to us. And the solution file shows us what this is going to look like when it's completely done. That may be a nice thing to see, but what's important to understand is if you follow along with the video, you can compare your screen to my screen in the video so that if you get off a little bit on step 3 or step 4 or step 5, you're going to know before you get to the final step. How many steps do we have in these instructions? Oh, goodness. In this step, technically we're down here to about 16, 18 if you count submitting this. So you don't want to wait until you have finished step 15 to find out that you made a mistake in step 3 or 4. This video, by comparing your screen to my screen, will help to keep you on track. So I'm going to scroll back up here to the top. Now, I'm very anxious to download the solution file and the start file, but I'm not ready, and you may not be ready either because we haven't created our folder. I'm going to minimize Chrome. So I minimize Chrome, and I see my Word Chapter 1 folder still on my desktop. I'm going to right-click next to that. I'm going to New and Folder. And following the same format, I'm going to call this Word 2 and press my Enter key. Now I have this empty folder. This is where I'm going to save my files. I'm going to leave this folder open, and I'm going to open Chrome. I say open, I'm going to maximize, because Chrome was never closed. It was just minimized. First, I'm going to download the solution file, as we did in the past. Now, look at this. It wants to put this in the Word Chapter 1 folder. This is going to be an easy mistake to make when it comes time to submit your file, because it's going to remember the last time you uploaded was from the Word Chapter 1 folder. Pay attention to where you are saving things and what you are submitting. File management is about these details. It's about knowing what drawer did you put that file in, that piece of paper in. If I need to retrieve it a year from today, how will I find it? And your organization, those skills, really important. You know what management, right? What are the 4 functions of management? Planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. So we need to make a plan for storing these files so that they're well organized. I'm going to navigate back up here to desktop. That's where mine are. If you have saved them someplace else, you can use the links to the side. And on my desktop, I have many folders and that are not visible to you because they're on my other screen, but I do have this Word 2 folder, so I'm going to go ahead and open that. And I'm going to save into this folder. So I've saved my solution file. At this point, I am going to go ahead and save my start file as well. Now, you can use the file download wizard. It's easy to follow those step-by-steps. I'm just going to click on Start File. Chrome again prompts me. This time it remembers that it's in the Word 2 folder. That's where I saved last time. This is my Jill Doe. That's my pretend student name. I'm going to save. Both files are downloaded, so I'm going to minimize Chrome. Here's my Word 2 folder, which I left open, and there's both files. Now, this first solution file, remember, is an Adobe Acrobat file. If you Google Adobe Reader, you'll find a link to download the free reader, which will enable you to open this. Notice it has this watermark. That's what this gray solution sample, that's called a watermark. But it still lets you see. Look at the formatting. We have some orange font here. You can see our spacing. Look at Our Goal and Experience and why R.C. Morris. This is the document we were working on last time, isn't it? Look how the font is different. It stands out. At the same time, it's very consistent. These titles are very consistent. We don't want to have 20 different fonts going on in the document. We want it to, if there's a change in bolding or in font size or the type of font, we really want it to be purposeful so that it draws the eye to certain things. Look at this, those quotes. Remember how it was difficult for us in Chapter 1 to locate these quotes? Now they really pop. Even though we have this watermark, kind of blocking our way, they really pop now, don't they? Well, I can see this. I can even see who made that quote because it's bolded. It stands out. Some of the key points are bulleted here. This formatting, relatively simple, but makes a big impact. I'm going to close this. And next, I'm going to go ahead and open my file because I know they're going to tell me to do that. I've got to do my work in my file. Here's this familiar warning. You've downloaded something from the internet. It could have viruses if it's from an untrustworthy source. This is, SimNet, it's a trustworthy source. We're going to say OK, and we're going to enable editing, which we have to do. Otherwise, we couldn't do our work. If you have an extra message about personal information, close that. Now, last time I was in Word, had these marks displayed. Remember, this is, if you watch the first video, this is to show or hide the non-printable characters, like spaces, like every time someone has hit the Enter key. As you look at this, what is your sense of the professionalism or skill of the person who created this document? I notice things very quickly. I notice the extra spaces following the title. Here I see, the enter key every time they've hit the enter key. Here's the quotes. Okay. I just kind of notice different, again, the quotes, hard to see, the alignment. See how everything is lined up over here on the left? So you might get this and say it's kind of basic. I might notice this blue underline, and what did we learn about that last chapter? We learned that that's an indicator of a grammar mistake. Possible. Sometimes it may not be a technical grammar error, but it's worded rough. In other words, it's hard to read, so it's triggering a grammar mistake. It needs some work, is what that tells you. Okay, we're familiar now with the document. Let me maximize Chrome, and we've downloaded. Let's look at the instructions. I'm working on a Windows computer, so I'm following those instructions. Here's what we're doing. In our project, we're adding basic formatting. Again, it's to that R.W. Morris Marketing Agency brochure that we were working on from Chapter 1. So this is a continuation. Look at all these great skills that we're going to learn. We're going to continue on. I have that wonderful yellow highlight that's going to keep me on track. Well, I've already finished step 1, haven't I? Because I downloaded it and I opened that document. Check. If the document opens in protected view, I enabled editing. Check. Here we go on to step 3. Now here's what I really like about these assignments. It tells me clear the formatting of the text. Now that could be a standalone instruction. They just tell us go clear the formatting of that text. But in addition to that, they first of all tell us what to select, but they also give us the how-to steps. So I want you to really think about this as if you are doing this on your own, because there's not always going to be these instructions. The goal here is that you internalize this. So don't get so focused on the task that you're not learning. Sometimes you may want to kind of push back from the tree so you can see the forest. And what I mean by that is you stop and you say, oh, what did we just do? Oh, I had some formatting that I didn't want on there. So this is how I can clear that if I see this in the future. All right. On the second line in the document, the one that begins with pudding, on the Home tab in the font group, we're going to click Clear All Formatting button. So I'm going to once again minimize Chrome by just clicking the Chrome button again. That reveals to me Word, which was in the background and open this entire time. And it said that there was a sentence that said pudding. Now, I see pudding right here under commitment. I wonder, is this the only one? And if you're like me, sometimes finding this is a little hard. So let's use a skill from last chapter. Let's use our search box. If this box is not still open for you, in fact, I'll close it here. Do you remember how to find it? And I'm going to use the Find button. Not the drop down, although you could use that. I'm going to use the Find button. What did we learn about Find? We learned that we really should start at the top of the document. Otherwise, not a problem, but Word will search from that point on and then loop back around to the top. How do we get to the very top? Ctrl+Home. Now my cursor is blinking at the very, very top. And our instructions said, look for the word pudding, the second line in the document, the one beginning with pudding. Sounds like pudding, but putting. Okay, so I'm going to click there, pudding, and I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. I might have gone and formatted the wrong line. I might have done something completely wrong there. I see this pudding now. So see how that find command really helped me? Now remember, it did not move my insertion point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this before I close this. In that way, I've moved the insertion point to this area. So I'm here and I'm going to clear the formatting for this entire line. So I'm moving my mouse ever so slightly out into the margin. This helps me to select very quickly that entire line. So I've selected that entire line, and I'm on the Home tab, and I'm going to look in my font group. And in my font group, as I look at these little buttons, do you see this one up here? It says Clear All Formatting when I hover over it. Now I'm going to tell you a little something about these buttons. Sometimes they are just a small icon. Depending on the size of your screen, sometimes they may not even show immediately in this font group because the screen will collapse to make everything fit. So for example, okay, we've used this minimize button. See this button here? This one, resize. They call this the resize button. It either makes it full screen or it reduces it down to more of a window. So while I have it in this window, I'm on my Home tab, I don't see the button in the same way. So it collapsed the screen down. If I click on this little drop-down box, now I can see more of the options that I have. So you may want to remember that. It's one reason that knowing which group to look in can help you find these buttons. Sometimes different words will not even display with the button if you saw them on the larger screen. Find, for example, this is in the editing tab. We can see find, replace, and select. Goodness, I just see editing. Okay, and I have to display them in this way. Sometimes it'll just show the icon and not the word next to it. It depends on how much space it has to display. Okay, so I'm just kind of showing you this as I expand it and subtract it, changes a little bit. Okay, so I have this selected. You've learned some extra things here, haven't you? On the Home tab, clear formatting. All formatting. So look at that change. When it said clear all formatting, it changed the line spacing. It took off the bolding. It took off the color that was on it. If you want to compare, remember undo? What was that? What was the keystrokes for that? Ctrl+Z. See how it had spacing there? It's bold, if you can see that. I'm going to click away so you can see that. There's a lot of formatting on that. I'll tell you another little trick. If I click on that line, I can see the font that is on there. This is Aptos 11. Aptos 11. So I can see if I click on another line, might be able to see, and you can also see, by the way, that it's bolded because that B for bold button is pressed down. So not only are these tools to apply certain settings, but you can also read the settings based on that. If I click on a different paragraph, I see the bolding is not there. Okay, I undid my change. I could just simply apply that again. I could just redo. Do you know the keystroke command for that? Ctrl+Y. I like to think of it as yes. Yes, I did want that. So Ctrl+Y for yes. Ctrl+Z, undo. Ctrl+Y, redo. If you're a beginner, if you want to use buttons for undo, things like that, absolutely, you can do that. Okay, so I think we've done this first step, or second step, I'm sorry. We enabled editing. I forgot to check that off. We selected the line with putting. We went to the Home tab, and we cleared all formatting. As we enter into step 4, change the font size and all the text in the document, I want to briefly show you a comparison between the PC and the Mac versions. And the reason that you're going to have difficulty, you really should not switch between the two different instructions. Here in the PC version, it says press Ctrl+A to select all text in the document. Then on the Home tab, it tells us the font, and it tells us, we just saw that it was the Aptos font. Now we're going to change it to Aptos Light. Again, this is the PC version, and it tells us the size that we're going to use. Well, I'm going to go back up here just for comparison, and I'm going to change to the Mac version. See that? I'm going to scroll down. Well, I haven't completed the Mac instructions, right? They look pretty similar, but here's step 4. Okay, first of all, instead of Ctrl+A, you do Command-A. Okay, probably no problem there. But see how the approach is just a little bit different? It's not a big deal. I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. I'm just saying different. So if you're trying to go between instructions, you might have to like change your mindset a little bit or so. So on the Home tab in the font group, it says for the Mac, font, Aptos, and then as a separate step, you choose light. Interesting. I just thought I'd point that out. Very minor difference. Just thought I'd show you that. Now I'll also show you when I switch back to the Windows, it unchecked my boxes. So you know we did those steps. So I'm going to recheck that. So here I am on step 4. And it does say that we're going to use Ctrl+A. This is an important keyboard shortcut to remember. We're going to use this in many applications. Ctrl+A selects all the text in the document. I would give you a different definition. In Word, it is going to select all the text in the document because that's the container. When I click inside the document, I'm in the document. So Ctrl+A selects everything in a document. If you're filling out a form on the internet and you're in that little box, where you type your comments, right? Ctrl+A will select all the text in that comment. If you're in a variety of different type of text boxes, including in Word, when you're inside that text box container, Ctrl+A will select that. Later on, we'll get into headers and footers in Word. Ctrl+A will select the header. The header actually is not part of the document container, so when I do Ctrl+A, it will not select the header. It will not select the footer. So I want to just give you a sense of the context. If right now you're going, I don't know what you're talking about, this is too overwhelming, don't worry. What you're taking from this is that Ctrl+A selects all the text in the document. If you're a little more advanced, I want you to start thinking of Ctrl+A because it is not limited to Microsoft Word. This is a command that is readily available to you in many places that might be surprising. So don't be afraid to try that. We're going to select all the text. We're going to, on the Home tab, in the font group, we are going to change the font to Aptos Light, and we're going to make the size 12. Now, what is 12? It's a point size. That's what they talk about it as. I like to say, I think of this in terms of women's clothing. With men's clothing, you all may not relate because you tend to measure like the size of jeans in the inches. It'll say if your waist is this many inches. Women's clothing, 12, 14, 16, 10, we don't know. So you change the size and you look at it and you say, is that about right? And 12 is a pretty common size, okay? So it's a point size. I'm going to minimize this. I could get all technical with you, but it's a point size, okay? So think of it almost in terms of pixels or points on your screen. So I'm clicking just anywhere inside my document, which, how many pages is it? Look here, 2 pages, and I'm currently on page 1. So when I press on my keyboard, Ctrl+A, I just did, everything is in this reverse coloring, right? Which tells me it's selected. As I scroll down, it's selected everything. Now, do you see the little grayed out paragraph mark in the footer and in the header? That's what I was describing. Those are not selected. When I have everything selected, when I have anything selected, I have to be really careful because when I begin to type, I'll just ABC. Woo! It deleted everything. So when something is selected, you do not have to take a separate step to delete, because if you just start typing, text that is selected will be affected, so it will be deleted. Now, of course, I did not mean to delete. So what am I going to do? Ctrl+Z to get back to where I was. Ctrl+A selected everything, and what is all my text in the document, and what is selected will be affected. So they asked us to go up here to the font. It's currently set at Aptos. I'm going to click the drop-down box next to my fonts. Now, fonts are interesting because your list of fonts may be different depending on what has been installed on your computer. Here's some more understanding and general knowledge for you. You may see in my list of fonts here something that is not on your computer. I have no idea what the differences might be between your computer and my computer. But if you look at this list and you're saying, that's not on my computer, then the question becomes, if I were to email you this document to print, this is our company brochure, and I say, take a look at this document and print it, and you don't have the same font, what is the computer going to do? It's going to pick a font that is similar. You learned in your sim book about sans serif fonts and serif fonts, whether or not they are sans, meaning without the little edges on the characters, or if it's, oh, I'm sorry, my computer just did something very interesting there because it blanked out for a minute. So whether it's sans serif or serif fonts, whether they have the hard edge on them or not, it will try to match the font in terms of those categories. It will just pick one. Maybe it picks Calibri, right? Maybe it picks something else. And that size of that font may greatly change the way that your document looks. It could make a paper that you write appear to have more pages, or something kind of runs into areas that it shouldn't run into. If you have things tabbed and spaced over, tables may look funny. That's why people save documents as Acrobat files. Acrobat files are larger, Adobe Acrobat, because the fonts are bundled into them. So when you open that solution file, it looks as it's supposed to look, whether or not you have the whether or not you have the same set of fonts or not. So an interesting little piece of knowledge. Okay, let's go down to Aptos Light. I'm picking that. Everything that was selected was just affected. I can click within this and look, it tells me that's Aptos Light. However, look at the point size. The point size says that it's 11. Really, no matter where I click. So we were supposed to change that to 12. To select all, Ctrl+A, drop down 12. Okay, now, because it would be so easy to accidentally delete this, I'm going to click away someplace so that I no longer have everything selected. When I say click away, you're looking to click in a safe place. Maybe it's just moving my insertion point in the document. Sometimes people will click on the title bar, or see, I saw something kind of jump there, and I'm not sure what happened. So if I undo, right? Okay, and then redo. Ctrl+Z, Ctrl+Y, just to make sure, because I thought I saw something move around on me there. So I didn't want to accidentally make a change. Okay, so I'm looking at my document. It looks okay. I'm going to bring Chrome to the front again. We did Ctrl+A to select the document. We changed the font to Aptos Light, and we changed the font size to 12. On to step 5. Now we're going to change the line spacing. What is line spacing? When we removed the formatting from that pudding title, you notice that it went from being nicely spaced, the two different lines, to all of a sudden they were much closer. So we're controlling how close the lines are to each other. So we're going to verify that the entire document is still selected. Well, how do we do that? Ctrl+A. We're going to go to the Home tab, and this time in the Paragraph group. We're going to click the Line and Paragraph Spacing button, and we're going to select 1.15 to change the line spacing. So they're going to have us click the Line and Paragraph Spacing button. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this. I'm back in my document, clicking anywhere just to make sure it's active. Ctrl+A selects all the text in the document. I am on the Home tab. I'm going from Font over to Paragraph. And as I look at these buttons, all kinds of things. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is that this applies to a paragraph. Anything you pick in here applies to a paragraph. If you just even, have one word selected and you change the spacing of the paragraph, it will not change the spacing for just that one word. It will change the spacing for a paragraph. And we discussed in the previous video what a paragraph is to Word. To your English teacher, a paragraph has a beginning sentence that tells you what the paragraph is about, that introductory sentence. It has supporting sentences, and then it has a summary sentence. To Microsoft Word, any place you see this paragraph mark, even this empty line, is a paragraph. Okay. In my paragraph grouping, this button here, if I hover over it, line and paragraph spacing, click on that, and they told us they wanted us to select 1.15. Now look at the document, and I'm going to click on it. Did you see the spacing change just a little bit? To help you see that, I'm going to Ctrl+Z, look at the document, and Ctrl+Y. Undo, redo. It was a very, very slight difference, but we changed the line spacing. I like that The task is complete. Save. Back to Chrome. Step 5 is complete. Now on to step 6. Show formatting marks and remove extra spaces and blank lines. You all are advanced learners because I showed you that in the last video. I will show you again how to show and hide these marks. It says delete extra spaces at the end of the first line of the document. Delete all the extra blank paragraphs, okay? The blank lines between paragraphs in the document. Hint, there are 4 blank lines that need to be deleted. Click the Show Hide button again to hide the formatting marks. Okay, let's go back to Word. I'm going to use a tool that we learned last chapter, which is I want to make this bigger. Now, I'm not sure if the automatic grader is going to check for the zoom setting. So as I look in this lower right corner, I'm going to be aware that it's currently at 100% and try to remember to set it back to that before I submit this. I'm going to go ahead and increase this. I'm just clicking the plus button multiple times. I'm going to go all the way up to 200%. And I'm going to click on this first line. Now remember I said, does this give you an impression of the professionalism of the person when you start looking at these? Well, this isn't bad. I'm not going to say that I think this person is unprofessional. If there was a lot of this, I might. You know the one that stands out to me the most? This is a 2-page document. There's content on page 1 and 2. Have you ever received a document where there's content on page 1 and 2, but you print and 3 pages comes off? Sometimes it's worse. Maybe 4 pages comes off because you feel like they've wasted your paper, right? So that's because there's extra paragraph marks that they never bothered to delete. And that does make me go, right? So don't make me go, we're going to learn how to clean those up. And I know you want to do this. Okay, so the first thing is they told me to clean up these extra spaces. Now, I could certainly click delete, 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 delete. One thing that you may want to know is that the delete button pulls from the right. It's like a Pac-Man, and it will go eat those extra spaces towards the paragraph. Backspace deletes in the other direction. Well, I learned some selection techniques in the last chapter. So what if I double click? Well, that's too much, isn't it? That got the whole word marketing. That's way too much. What if instead, and I'm just doing this to help you practice, I click right after the G in marketing. Do you remember which key I need to hold down if I'm going to use my arrows? Shift, right arrow. And keeping that shift key held down, every time I press my right arrow key, it selects another space. Now, oops, I went too far. I accidentally selected the paragraph mark, which if I delete that, then I won't have a new line after that. Keep the shift key held down, or if you let up off the shift key, just push it down again before you touch anything else. Now, left arrow, right? So if you go too far, just back up. Keep the shift key held down. So I've got all those spaces selected. I'm going to press the delete key on my keyboard. Now it decided to put a space there. I'm going to delete one more time because I don't think we're supposed to have any spaces there. Now it also said that we have some extra lines, is what they call them. And when they say lines, they mean these paragraphs here. Well, you can either select the entire line or you can just simply click right next to it. And I'm going to press the delete key. And I'm going to just look through. Oh, here's another extra line. I clicked to move my insertion point there. Press delete. I'm scrolling down. And remember, scrolling does not move that insertion point. If I was to press the delete key again while I'm looking at this, it would delete up where the insertion point is. I'm going to select, using a different method here, this line, and I'm going to press the delete key. And that was 3. They said there were 4. And it looks like here is my 4th. As I just scroll, I don't have any further pages. I'm going to look back up this document. I've done good work. Save. Back to our instructions. I've done step A. Oh, I wanted to show you more about show hide. Let me do that very quickly. Minimize. Up here at the top, we're on the Home tab. We're in the paragraph group, and this is a paragraph mark, isn't it? If I click this, it hides. If they're showing, it hides. If they're not showing, it shows. So it's called a show hide button. Non-printable characters. These are the non-printing characters. Even if I have this on, if I print to the printer right now, these paragraph marks will not display. The dots between the words will not display. These are non-printable characters that help you edit the document so that you don't have those extra pages or those extra lines or those extra spaces. Okay, so they're to help you edit. They wanted us to turn that off, so I'm going to turn that off and save. It doesn't, if the other person, they can turn it back on, so I mean, it's not a problem. Okay, we deleted the extra spaces at the end of the first line of the document. We deleted all the extra lines, and we found 4 of those, and we hid those non-printable characters again. I'm going to scroll up on to step 7. So use styles, it says, to apply a heading format to a section heading in the document. So what are styles? You learned about those in the sim book. I'm going to tell you these are really important. One reason that they're important is because when you are doing more advanced functions, well, let me talk about the advanced functions, and then I'll talk about beginning functions. In more advanced functions, you can tell Word to create a table of contents for you. For example, you can use those headings to search your document by headings very quickly. It's a wonderful feature, but that requires that you have used headings. On a more beginning level, headings help you to maintain consistency and make you a very fast editor. If you have subtitles in your history report, this is, the dawn of time, then there was the middle of time, and then there was the end of time. And those are the 3 subtitles. Excuse my example, okay? You want those titles to be formatted exactly the same. Headings, you tell the style for the heading, here are the formatting. Every time I tell you it's a heading, make that formatting this, whatever your standards are. What if the standards change? Instead of Times New Roman 12-point font, Today, Arial and Calibri, the sans serif fonts, are more popular, easier to read. So I can simply go to my heading and tell the heading, here's the style that I want, change the font. And all those headings will change like that. So that's the why of what you're doing. Very important. So we're going to use styles and headings. It says select our goal, which is a heading on the first page. You remember typing that. On the Home tab, we're going to go to Styles, and we're going to click the Heading 1 style to apply it to that text. Apply Heading 1 also to these lines. Experience, why R.W. Morris. I might have to come back and look at these to remember them, but hopefully we'll be able to identify these in our document. So let's minimize Chrome. Here's our document, and they said select our goal. Now, I'm selecting the whole paragraph, and on my Home tab, as I move across, we've looked at fonts, we've looked at the paragraph box, now we're in styles. You see, here's normal. This is the default. Oops, I don't mean to change anything. This is the default of what our document would be. When I hover over it, I am not clicking. I've just moved my mouse up there. It changes and it shows me this is what the normal for your document is. This is what it would be like if we chose the no spacing style. Now, I've not made that change. It's being previewed because I'm hovering over it. As I continue across, and again, I am just hovering over it, I'm previewing it. I've not selected it. I can see in my document, this is what it's going to look like. Now remember, I'm at 200 magnification. So if you feel like yours looks a little smaller, I'm at 200 magnification. Here's the thing I want you to remember. If I move my mouse away, it goes right back because I did not select it. So come back up here to heading, click one time. Isn't that neat? So I'm going to look through a little. This is the title. I can see this is Experience. Heading. Why R.W. Morris. Heading 1. They did say heading 1, didn't they? It's kind of unusual that you would have so many heading 1s in one document. A heading 1 would normally be the title of your report. So if you have all these, they probably would not all be heading 1s. Should we double check that I'm following the directions? Let's do. So why R.W. Morris, the R.W. Morris belief system. Yep, they're telling us make them all heading 1. Client quotes and professional credentials are my last two. I'm scrolling. There's client quotes. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. Professional credentials. Heading 1. That looks good. I'm going to save. Back to Chrome. I've done this. Each of these steps, A, B, and C. Now, I see that we're about to continue on and do some more changes. In fact, let me go ahead and check these off. I want to briefly show you something. Again, I like you to learn while you're earning your points. So let me go back to the document. Remember, I mentioned in Find that Find navigation box, which I have professional credentials selected, so it went ahead and typed that for me. I don't need that selected. So I just used the little X to delete it. And when we were here in Chapter 1, we just simply looked at what the results of our search were. But I said there's more things you can do with pages. Well, here's pages. I could quickly move to page 1 or to page 2. Look at headings now that we have headings. These are each of our headings. If someone emails you a 20-page document, if they have used headings, you can quickly find. This is a 2-page document, and look how handy this is. What was the goal? Oh, yeah, that was the goal. Wait a minute, what did the client say? Oh, yeah, this is what the clients say. You see how I'm moving, and my insertion point is moving throughout the document. What's the experience? They have over 40 years. So these headings provide this additional feature just by selecting those headings. Pretty cool. I'm going to close that. Let's go back to our instructions. Get back on track. Step 8, change the spacing before the paragraph on the selected heading. So we're going to select our goal heading on the first page. We're going to click the Layout tab. I don't think we've been to the Layout tab. And in the paragraph group, click the Before down arrow 2 times to change the spacing before the text to 12. So wait a minute, a lot of stuff going on here. Let's go to our goal, select that. Across the top, we're going to go to the Layout tab, and it said in the paragraph group, isn't this what it said? Select Before 2 times, and before the down arrow 2 times to change the spacing to 12 point. So right now it's at 20. Now what is before? See, when I have our goals selected, do you see all this space? I want you to know why you're doing what you're doing. I don't want you to blindly just click where somebody's telling you to click, because when you get on the job, you're going to need to be able to do this, right? So here's before. I'm going to click this little bitty down arrow once, twice. Oops, I missed it. Twice. So now it says 12 points. And now look at that gray area where it's selected. You see how it's not quite as much? Compare the gray space here where I've selected that paragraph to that. See how much taller that is? And yet, it's the same one space, or one line. Okay, so we changed it for our goal. Use this method to change the spacing before all the headings in the brochure. I want to tell you the shortcut way I would do this, because I'll be at the house by now, because we'd be done. We're not going to do it this way because we've got to make sure we follow each of the instructions. If you make a change and you want this change to apply to all the other headings, did I mention that I really like to right-click and get a menu? Because then I can choose what I want to do. I'm not going to do this, but what I could do is move my mouse up here, right-click on top of that style. And do you see where it says update the heading to match what I have selected? If you don't do this, I'm going to do this. If I click this, watch experience and watch why R.W. Morris matters. Did you see him shrink up? Because the line spacing changed. Okay, but we were not instructed to do that, so I want to undo, Ctrl+Z. Okay, but we're learning. All right, so I'm selecting this one. Remember that we went to Layout. Remember we said 1, 2. Change that to 12. I'm going to click this one. 1, 2. There are many ways that we could do this very efficiently, but we're learning, so we're doing this in a very controlled way so that we learn the steps. Very good. Let's save that. Let's go back to Chrome. We changed our goal and we applied it to all the others. Step 9, check the character formatting, font, and color of the text. Select the R.W. Morris marketing at the top of the document. Click the Home tab. Look at this. We're going to bold. We're going to click the arrow next to the font box, and we're going to change the font to Verdana. Then we're going to make it big. We're going to make it 22, and we're even going to change the font color button and select Orange Accent 2. Now, if you are colorblind, they are telling us, and this also helps us all because it helps us navigate, that it is the 6th color in the first row under Theme Colors. So we're trying to get back to, remember what that document looked like in the final product, and even kind of before we cleared formatting. So we're doing this. One thing I want to point out, you're going to learn in this very next step about the Format Painter. Well, what Format Painter will do is we'll select this text, and it will soak up all these settings. It'll soak up the Format Painter, that it's bold. It will soak up that this is Verdana 22 and Orange Accent 2, and it'll suck all that up to the brush so that when we click on something else, it will apply it to that. Here's the benefit of the Format Painter. This is going to take us right now 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. But when we apply it to something else, we're not going to need 4 steps. We're going to use that format paintbrush and click and apply all those settings. So we're looking forward to that. But right now we're learning, we got to set up what we want. So R.W. Morris Marketing, let's do that. I'm going to minimize this. I'm down here at the bottom of my document. I want to move to the top, so Ctrl+Home. Here's that title of my document. I know I'm going to format that. And folks, this little symbol here, if you're wondering about that, is an AI prompt. Your free educational version of AI, of Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint, does not integrate Copilot, the AI Copilot. You kind of have to pay extra for that. With that being said, you do have access to Copilot, just not inside of Word, because it's not all integrated together, okay? But that's why that keeps lighting up, and I didn't want you to be concerned about that. So I'm going to click kind of out here, or you can just simply drag to select, however you want to do that. Select that. They told us to go to the Home tab. They told us to click Bold. Now, if I click this drop-down box, I don't want to have to scroll. Verdana's with a V, and these are in alphabetical orders. So remember when I said that what is selected will be affected? And inside this little box, that text is selected. So I'm going to type Verdana. When I type that, did you see in the box how it started going to that? Now again, I'm hovering and you can see the text in the background changing. It's previewing it. It's not applied until I click the font choice. So Verdana, and I need to make that 22. It's bold. I need to make it 22. I'll tell you a little something extra about these font choices. You are not necessarily restricted to these numbers. These are, when they created the font, these are the sizes they made available, but it will scale. It could lose a little quality, but typically you will not notice it. So if I don't want to go all the way to 72 and I want to choose 55, I could just type that in this box. See how that's also selected? It's a typable area, so I could do that. But they told us 22, so we're going to pick 22. Now the last thing they told us was to change the font color. So I'm still inside this font panel right here, and I see some different things that I can do to the font. I can highlight it. This is very stylistic here, so a little advanced for us right now. As I go over, I see again a button that has 2 pieces to it. Notice that that letter A currently has a red underline. That means that if I click on the button, not on the arrow portion, but on the button, look at my title. It changed it to red. Whatever color, it can change. Whatever color happens to be underneath this letter A, if you click on the button, it will apply that. So if your company uses light blue or light green or yellow or whatever, frequently they change the text color. If it's already there, you don't have to keep reselecting it. Just click on the button. So efficiency, right? You want to just click on the button. But we were told to pick a very specific color. It was orange, but it was orange accent 2. Now my mouse is very large so you can see what I'm doing, but you should see what they call a tooltip. That's that little pop-up box, and it says orange, accent 2. So it's in the first row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exactly what they told us, the 6th one over. Click on that. Now, if you can see that color distinction, that little underscore is now orange. So if I was to, color some additional text, I needed to make the phone number that exact orange, I would not have to select it again. I just select the text and hit the A button. Save that. Go back to Chrome. We selected the text. We clicked the Home button. We bolded it. We changed the font to Verdana. we made the size 22, and we made the font color orange accent 2. So woohoo, we're on to step 10. Let me pull this up so we can see it better. Use the Format Painter to change the format of text. With the text R.W. Morris Marketing still selected, that's okay, we'll select it again. On the Home tab in the Clipboard group, we're going to find this Format Paint button and click on it. Now, here's what I want you to really note in your mind. The text that you want to get the formatting from needs to be selected. All of it doesn't have to be selected. I'll show you that. But remember that before you can paint, you have to suck up into the paintbrush the paint, those settings. Okay, so you have to find what has the settings and select that first. Then we're not really going to paint. You don't have to necessarily wipe the brush. You just have to click on things. So we'll see that also. So we're going to select the text, putting your needs first to apply the formatting that we've copied. Then on the Home tab, we're going to click the arrow next to the font size box, and we're going to change that because we don't need, this is a size 22. So here's the beauty of what they're doing. We're going to soak up bold. We're going to soak up Verdana. We're even going to soak up the font size 22 and the orange accent 2. But of these 4 settings, this one we're going to then change to 11. It's still faster than if we had to do each one of these separate. So let's do that. You're going to love this Format Paintbrush. From R.W. Morris to putting your needs first. So back to Word. Well, I do already have that selected. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you. I'm just going to click anywhere. If you want to keep all that selected, that's fine. I'm clicking just inside here. As I am clicked inside, look up here. Isn't it Verdana? Isn't it size 22? Isn't it bold? These are things that apply to the word or to even a letter. So we're okay here. It says that in this clipboard group, remember we've looked at cut and copy. Did we do copy? We did cut and we did paste, but you see copy there. And in this clipboard group, see that little paintbrush? Now, as I hover my mouse over it, you also see the keyboard shortcuts. You may want to make note of those. Alt-Control-C, Alt-Control-V. Isn't that very similar to copy and paste? Recall that Control-C is copy and Control-V is paint. So here's what I want to point out. If you also hold Alt-Control, you keep those held down, and you tap C, you'll soak up those settings. Alt-Control, keep those held down, tap the letter V as in victory, it'll apply. It'll paste those settings. Just building your repertoire. I'm clicking one time the paintbrush. Now, if I click it one time, and I'm not clicking down at all, I've moved my mouse onto the paper. Now, sometimes, folks, the video capturing software that I use does not allow the mouse change to show. I hope that it does. But what you should see is an I-beam and the paintbrush next to it, because the I-beam is what matters. That is your insertion point. The paintbrush is a symbol that lets you know that you're in the paint mode. Now, since I clicked it one time, if I click, remember we're going to format putting your needs first, I'm going to click on the word putting. Now, here's what I want you to notice, and I hope you can notice this. My paintbrush is gone from my mouse. I am no longer in that painting mode. The reason for that is it just went back to normal operation because I clicked the paintbrush once. If you click it once, it allows you one use of the paintbrush. If you double click, it will keep you in paintbrush mode until you either click the paintbrush again or you do my favorite trick, which is to hit the escape key on your keyboard. If you look in the upper left corner of your keyboard, that's the escape key, very handy for getting out of messes. You say, I don't want in this anymore, escape, escape, hit that a couple times. Okay, I sucked up, I was up here in Morris, I clicked the paintbrush one time and I soaked up the settings, and then I clicked this word and it applied it only to those words. Well, of course, we're going to apply it to the whole thing. So as I click inside the word Morris, this time I'm going to double click, and I'm going to come down here, and you see my paintbrush. Well, I hope you see my paintbrush is attached to the I-beam. I can drag over this if I wanted, but I know I can select by moving my mouse out into the margin. It selected all that text. So that was easy. Now, do you notice that I'm still, again, I hope you can see my mouse changing shapes. I am still in the Format Painter mode. If you'd like, just come click that again and see how the button has popped back up. It was pushed down, now it's popped up. So I've done it. Save. Back to Chrome. We had the text selected. We formatted including the quotes, putting your needs first. Here's what we have not yet done. We have not yet changed that putting your needs first to a font size of 11. So good thing we're being very careful with these instructions. Select that, change to 11. Save. We've done good work, so save. I'll tell you something about these checkboxes that I would like to recommend to you. I've been teaching a long time, and some of the most effective students that I have seen, the students who do not miss points because they forgot something. Don't you hate when you do that? I've just recently went back to school and finished some courses, and I know I would hate to see it where I lost a point because I overlooked an instruction, something I knew how to do, but I just overlooked the instruction. If you will take the instructions that your teacher gives to you and prepare a checklist, you can underline things and then check the sentence when you're done. Whatever your personal code is, if you will mark each one of those instructions to make sure that you've done it to the best of your ability, you will never lose points because you simply forgot or overlooked something. So on to step 11. Add a numbered list to and decrease the indent on a section of the brochure. Well, that's a mouthful, isn't it? We're going to turn something into a numbered list, and we're going to decrease the indent. What is indent? Indent is how far are you in from the margin, specifically the left margin. So typically we think we have a margin of 1 inch, but you may indent by another ½ inch, for example, at the start of a paragraph or a bulleted list. So in the Y.R.W. Morris section, select all the text below the heading. On the Home tab, in the paragraph grouping, click numbering, and we're going to use this style, 1 in a parenthesis, 2 in a parenthesis, to apply the numbering. Then we're going to click the decrease indent. Okay, so I'm sorry, not increase the indent, we're going to decrease it. Wants to change the left indent to 0, so we don't want it offset inside of there. Okay, let's go. Let's see, Y.R.W. Morris is the section we're looking for. Here is our Word document. Here we are. It said select all the text inside the heading, inside this area. Now, I want you to think about this. We certainly could select all the text, nothing wrong with that, but I want you to build your understanding. If I select this, click someplace inside this first sentence, and I change it to numbering, which is what we're going to do in a moment, could it number just the word working and not the rest of the sentence? No. It applies to the paragraph, which is the reason that particular function or feature is inside this group. So when I select, what if I clicked and drug like this? You see, I did not select part of that first sentence, and I didn't select a portion of the last sentence. Now, if I was applying font, that would only apply to what is selected will be affected. Well, what I'm trying to affect is the paragraph. You see the paragraph marks? This is a paragraph setting. I just want you to make that distinction in your mind. So I've got the paragraphs selected. I've indicated which paragraphs I am controlling. Now this is a button with two parts to it. If I just click on the main part of the button, well, it applied numbering from whatever style was used last. And that's not the style I was instructed to use. So I need to use the other part of the button that has this tiny drop down. When I do that, here are some of these default numbering settings. And this one, number alignment left with the parenthesis, is what I need to select. So now my style is better. Do you see the arrow between the number 1 and the text? I mentioned that in the chapter 1 video. This is an invisible character. It's one of those non-printing characters. If I was to not display that, when I print, I would not see those characters. What that is it's a tab, because it's very common when you do numbering like this that you would insert a default level of space in between. You would tab over a certain amount. You can see that a little bit in your rulers up here at the top. You also have a ruler on the side, by the way. If you do not see these rulers, please go to View, and kind of right below where you see the word View, you'll see the Show group, and here's Ruler. Make sure that box is checked. You don't need these other boxes, not right now anyway. Just make sure Ruler is checked. This is what turns those rulers, both the side as well as the top, on and off. But we were on the Home tab, and on the ruler, see how this little point thing pointing down lines up with the number, and this part that points up aligns with the text? Okay, these are margin controls, and so it's helping you see what's going on. Now, what did they tell us though? They said they don't want this indented like this. Personally, I do. I like that. That's, to me, it offsets it. It's what it's supposed to do. But they said no. Maybe they're trying to save some space. They don't want it. So up here in the paragraph, again, this applies to the whole paragraph. There was our numbering button. And if I move over, you can see these buttons. I can either decrease the indent or I can further increase the indent. But they asked me to decrease the indent. Click one time. Do you see how these little margins settings up here moved back? And the number is aligned. Everything is left aligned. And the text aligns after the tab. Okay, that looks good to me. I'm going to save that. Go back to Chrome. I know that this is taking you longer than if you probably completed this on your own, but I hope that you are learning as you earn points. That's really what this is about. Add a bulleted list to sections of the brochure, which they're going to tell us. Now, why here is a numbered list? Why a bulleted list? Here's the convention here. When you are telling somebody, do this in order, or this is the number one priority, then you need to number those steps. If the sequence does not matter, then bulleted list is your go-to. So in the R.W. Morris Belief System section, select all the text below the heading. On the Home tab, click the Bullets button arrow and select Closed Circle Bullet. Use that option. It says, note, if you cannot locate the closed circle bullet, you can use the character code 183 symbol for the bullet style. I think we'll be okay, but let's do this first and we can talk about that. So R.W. Morris Belief System section. That's our next section here. I'm going to select these items. Now, this is great. Look at this. It spans onto the next page. And have you ever done this where you start dragging to select and zoom, it goes to the end of the thing and you didn't want to select all that? Time for another selection tip, right? I'm going to, first of all, decrease my zoom out. I'm going to zoom out. And when this spans across the page, here's a little tip for you. I'm going to click at a starting point. In this case, remember, I just need the paragraph. I'm going to hold my Shift key down, and with my mouse, I am going to click my ending point. The Shift key, when combined with arrows and your mouse, is a selection method. When you click at the starting point. That's your starting point. Then you push the, don't do shift yet. Click at the starting point. Now hold down shift. Go to the ending point and click. Let up off shift. Let up, off your mouse. That was just a one click. So click, shift, click at the ending point. It makes it very easy because you can scroll without affecting anything. So if I wanted to, there's my starting point, I could scroll all the way here, shift, click, and it would select everything from the beginning to the end. I just simply wanted from here, click, scroll down, shift, click. So and in our case, we just need the paragraphs. So good enough. I've got all the paragraphs selected. Up in our paragraph area, here, this first button is the bulleted list. If I click the two-part button, if I click part one of the button, that looks like a closed circle to me. That is very commonly the default, but it depends on what you've been doing on your computer. So click the little arrow next to it, and you see the bullet library. It's possible that this library may differ a little bit on your computer. You may see some different things. It will reference things that you've been using recently. Now, I can further change bullets, and you can see this implies a further indent, or I can define a brand new bullet. I'm not going to go into this now. This is kind of a sneak peek. You can use symbols. You can use pictures. Now, they're going to be tiny, okay? You can use pictures. You can change the font, the alignment, all that. Canceling. Let's not do that right now. The closed bullet in your bullet library, this is what it looks like, okay? And it might be the one that was most recently used because it is very commonly used. All right, so remember when I said I don't want this menu anymore? I can click someplace safe to get rid of it. You could also hit the escape key on your keyboard. That looks good. Save. Back to Chrome. R.W. Morris did the bullets. We've got more to do. Professional credentials. We're again going to apply the closed circle bullet. We want to be consistent unless there's a big reason to change. Here's our professional credentials. I have selected at least a portion of both paragraphs, so I've got the paragraphs. It knows that I just used that closed circle bullet, so I'm just going to use that again. Looks good. Save. Scrolling right along. Step 13, here we go. Apply a style to the text. We looked at styles earlier with headings, right? So in the client quotes section, select the first quote, and include quotation marks. Include the quotation marks. Okay, I'm sorry. When we select that, include the quotation marks. On the Home tab in Styles, apply the quote style. You might have to click the More button to locate that style. Select the second quote in the section and apply the same style. All right, let's go back to our Word document. These are client quotes. Now, it wants us to include those quotes. If I triple click, there was a little tip for you, triple click, and it selects everything. Of course, I can apply the style and then do that a second time to this next quote. I want to introduce something you're going to need later. So let's go ahead and learn it now. I want to select this text as well as this text at the same time, but I have a problem. If I try to do something like select it like this, I've got this in here, and I don't want that, right? Because that is going to have its own settings. If I triple click and select that entire quote, Control, not Shift, but Control, triple click. What did you just learn? You said, what? Here's what you just learned. I don't want that menu there. Triple click, Control, triple click. Triple click it selects an entire paragraph. You see that it went through the paragraph mark, right? So that's what the triple click does. Even if that paragraph was just client quotes, or even if that paragraph was just success, results with integrity, which is right above that. What Control does is it says, take the first thing that was selected and now add this other thing. Here's the difference between Shift and Control. Shift says from the starting point to the ending point and everything in between. Control says the first thing plus the second thing and third thing, fourth thing, fifth thing, sixth thing. You can keep adding on. You're going to need this later. So I want you to go ahead and get that tool. So if you want to do this first and then do this second, then you can. If the formatting doesn't work correctly, then we'll certainly undo and go back and do it step by step the way they did. I wanted to introduce that to you. With those selected, whatever is selected will be effective. So come up here to Styles. Now, I don't see a quote style, but they told me you might have to use this drop-down box. They said you might have to click More. That's the drop-down box. And I'm looking for quote. Now, as I hover over, do you see that both selections are changing? Quote. That's exactly what we wanted to happen. If you had difficulty, do the first set of quote, then do the second quote. Okay? Looks good to me. I'm going to save. I told you I have little tips for everybody. You are learning while you're earning your points for this. And we already did that one. We were fast. I'm at the house. You're home. Your co-workers are saying, wait a minute. We were supposed to do like I'm done. Thank you. I'm done. All right. Okay. I hope you're having fun with this. I really love teaching this, so I hope you're having fun with it. Change the paragraph alignment and apply a style on selected text. So now we're getting the person who quoted it. Remember, we saw this in the final product, right? When we looked at the solution. Home tab, paragraph group, align right. Currently, everything is aligned left. We're going to shift everything over so that the ends are lined up. Once we do that, we're going to go to the Styles group. We're going to apply intense emphasis. That sounds intense. You might have to click the More button to locate it. And look at this. We're going to do it again to the second person. So what do you think I'm going to do? You know it. You know it. So let's minimize Chrome. And here's my first person. I'm going to select that. I just went over here into the margin. Control. Got the handy dandy control. I'm over here in the margin. Now I could triple click if I wanted. I have both people selected, don't I? They said go up here. Now, because we used quote last time, I see intense emphasis right there. If I didn't, just click that drop down box, look through, here's intense emphasis. And I'll just point out, look, you could create your own styles, all this. And remember, you can right-click on a style to update it to match the formatting you've already done. Done. Save. Minimize that. Go back to bring Chrome to the front. We did this. Oh, we forgot to align right. Go back, go back. I was showing off, and I got distracted. Select. Then hold Control, not before. Select, don't click nothing. Click nothing. Using my mouse hand, selecting the text. Now using the other hand, Control. With Control held down, select the next portion. This thing and that thing and this thing. That's what Control does. Control this, control that, control the other. Shift from the top to the bottom. Everything in between. That's what Shift does. Okay, I was supposed to write a line. So up here in this paragraph area, notice the little lines. What those lines are showing you is that everything is pushed left. And see how the right is ragged? So left align means the right is ragged. Then this is center align. Then this is right align. This one where the lines are all equal, if you've ever seen like a newspaper or text where it's both margins are completely straight. There's no raggedy anywhere. That's because it's justified. What that causes is words to get spaced kind of funny sometimes because it has to have extra space to make the left and right margins do that. So they call it justified. Okay, we want right aligned. That's this one right here. Again, keyboard command for that, Ctrl+R, but we'll just do that. Okay, see how the right edges are aligned, but this side is raggedy. Versus left aligned, the lefts are aligned, and this part is raggedy. Save. Bring Chrome forward. Now, I'm so glad we had those check boxes. We already did the intense emphasis, and we already did it to that next part. Step 15, look at us go. Add shading and borders to paragraphs of the text. Can we do that? We didn't know we could do that, but we saw it in the finished product. In the client quotes section, place the cursor in the first quote. They didn't even tell us to select the whole thing. They just said place the cursor there. That's your insertion point, that blinking. On the Home tab in the paragraph group, that's why we don't have to select it all, because it's a paragraph thing. Click the shading button and select blue-gray text to lighter 80%. That is such a long setting. It is the fourth option in the second row under those theme colors. So fourth option in the second row. And then let's see, are we going to do the same thing? Oh no, okay, this is something else. Let's start with that. So client quotes, I'm going to minimize this, and we're going to do shading. Fourth option, second row. So we just click someplace in here, right? You want to just do it individually. If you could select all that, do the control key, that's fine. Paragraphs, okay, what I'm going to do now is we need background color. Here's the paint bucket. Remember when we just did the letters? When I say the letters, remember up here? This is the letters. That was this A, because they're saying it's the letters that you're coloring. But down here, I need to now come across to the paint bucket because I'm going to pour that paint bucket into this. And so the letters are going to be on top of it. I'm spilling that paint all across the bottom underneath it. I'm color filling that. Now, if you see right now, my paint bucket has what looks like kind of a clear line underneath it. That's probably because that's the last thing I used. Just like this button, it will change to the color that I apply next so that if I need it again, it'll be there. So this time, I'm going to click this little paint bucket. Did it say second row, fourth across? Let me go down one to find this. Oh, it was blue though, wasn't it? I'm sorry. Accent. Okay, sure enough. So second, especially if you're colorblind, this is helpful. So these are our theme colors. Yes, you can adjust those. There's the first row. Go to the second row. Count across 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have blue accent 1. Is that? I think it was supposed to be supposed to be this one, blue-gray. I'm supposed to be on the fourth one across, blue-gray, text 2, lighter 80%, and I'm going to click that. Blue-gray, text 2, lighter 80%. Now, that may look like it is selected. I'm going to click someplace because it is not selected. What I've done is I've added some nice shading to that. I'm just going to double-click. Let me go back to Chrome. Blue-gray, text 2, lighter 80%. So I just want to make sure I have that correct. Now, a very quick note on this shading. On a digital screen, I can see this. It looks fine. Not everyone can. The contrast between the lettering and this background that you have applied can make it difficult to read. Think of looking at this on your cell phone in the bright sunlight. Well, it says something. I don't know what she's trying to tell me there, and they're trying to zoom in on that. Now think about this. You're going to a meeting. You want everybody to have the copy in front of them so they can mark on it. You know, you can have a discussion. You print this. You put it on the copier, which is not a color copier, and that shading, that's going to be kind of a dark background with dark letters on it. hard to see, hard to see. If you want this brochure to be readable to the people who are looking at it, you want them to see it. Contrast is important. How about a black background with white lettering on it? There's a lot of contrast in that. Think about that. I'm not saying that shading is bad. I'm saying think about how your audience will view this. Okay, so we've applied that. That's my point on that. We've applied that. Yep. In the paragraph group, click the Borders button and select a top border. Click the border button again and select a bottom border. Love this. Let's go back. I love to do stuff like this. I've clicked just anywhere in here because this applies to the paragraph. In our paragraph area, you saw the paint bucket, and you see how it has that color, that blue-gray color underneath the bucket now? So when I need it again for this paragraph, I can just click in here and click that paint bucket. Done. I don't have to go find that again. Let's go back to the first quote. Up here, as I move across, can you see that it looks like 4 squares? Some of those squares are dotted, and some have a solid line. What this is telling you is whatever is selected, which could be a table, so it might have multiple squares, like a table. This is where I'm going to put the line. For me, the one that is currently displaying is a line at the bottom. So if I click, notice all these buttons have multiple parts. They have this arrow next to them. If I click squarely on the button where the line is at the bottom, do you see that it added a line at the bottom? If I did not want that, I just click it again. Now maybe yours is showing, excuse me, something different. So click the little drop-down arrow next to that, and here are all your choices. Sometimes that line is really hard to see, so this way you can see all of them. For whatever is selected, all borders, we'll put borders between each piece of it. Doesn't really apply to us right now. This would put a box around the whole thing, and you can see as I've hovered over it, it's previewing that, right? I need a bottom border and then a top border. So I'm going to start with the bottom border. I'm going to go right back up here, and I'm going to now select top border. So can you see that? That's awesome. Now, I showed you how easy it was to use the paint bucket to apply that. Don't we know a tool that will apply that border very quickly? I can just click here, click one time on the paintbrush, and click here. Don't you love, I told you you're going to love Format Painter. It can help you. I'm going to give you one more tip with Format Painter. If something gets really messed up and you're like, I don't even know how to undo those settings, select text like this text that has no real setting. I mean, it might have some font and a size on it. Soak that up and click to get rid of it. It's kind of like a big eraser. Now I'm going to undo because that was not my intention. You also, let's use the tools that we have. Don't you have a clear format button? So you could do that. So I'm selected here and I could say, oh, everything is messed up, and I could clear that formatting. I did not want to do that. Ctrl+Z to undo. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to save. I've gone beyond the instructions, so let's just see what's happened. We did that. We applied that top and bottom border. Apply the same formatting to the second quote in the section. Here's what I like that's different about you doing the project versus the sim book. However you want to apply that same formatting, that's how you have that option. It's real world. Save and close the document. Then we're going to upload it and see what our grade is. So I'm going to minimize this for a moment. It's still open. It's minimized. I'm just going to go to the top because I like to look at my work. I'm at a very large magnification. I'm going to slide this down. I'll show you couple more things with magnification. Do you see I'm currently at 110%. You click on whatever percentage you're at. Look at these different percentages. I could very quickly go to 200% rather than clicking the plus or minus sign buttons so much. I can also have many pages viewed at one time, or I could just, view the page width or so. I'm going to do many pages for a moment. Woo! That's very small. Let's go up to, I'm going to click, that's at 10%. Let's go to 100%. Okay, that's a little too big. Now I am going to decrease. There we go. I wanted many pages because I wanted my pages to spread across like this. I want to get a bird's eye view. What does my brochure look like? So I like that. Now that's not how they asked us to submit it. I'm just showing you a few extra things. I'm going to go back to 100%. There we go. I'm going to turn off show hide. This is my very professional looking document. I'm going to save that to make sure I've got all my work saved, and I'm going to close Word. Close Word. Please don't leave this open. Do not minimize it. You're going to have to find this later and make changes if you made a mistake. I know you want to leave it open. Don't do it. Close Word. So here is my Word document, that I finished. I'm even going to close that folder. It doesn't really matter, but I have my two folders here. Now, do I see Word open in my taskbar? I do not. If you see the icon, that's fine, as long as there's not a little line underneath it. It cannot be open. If you have something totally unrelated open, yes, that's fine. But are you sure it's not your document? Close Word, get out of everything so that you know that document is closed. Now I can see the little line underneath Chrome, so I know that's still open. I'm going to pop that forward. And remember, I want to go to the top really fast. Ctrl+Home. Ctrl+Home. Did you see that? We don't have to scroll. Ctrl+Home. You're at the top. I'm at the house, right? We don't need to scroll. Don't need to do that. We downloaded. We did the work. Step 2, upload the file. Now be careful here. You're going to upload this file and you're going to not get any points because it's the Word 1 file. Most common mistake. I have made this mistake. You may make this mistake. When you get that 0 points, or I don't know, maybe you'll get 2 or 3 points, you go into shock. Say, I think I did not upload the correct file. That's the problem. I need to go back to my desktop. Remember, I have a lot of files on my desktop that are on a separate screen that you don't see. So I just need to navigate to this Word 2 folder, open it. There's my file. Select it, open. Planning, organization. Key. Very key. Yes, I'm ready to submit it for grading. Do I get the drum roll? Woohoo! Look at this. Another perfect score. Learn and earn. Follow your instructor. Learn and earn. So this means that as I look, this is not your work. It could be because our work is 100%, okay? But if I had any errors, this is the solution, and you would look at the solution to try to find any indications of an error. And if there is an error, you know what you need to do. If you made an error, it happens to the best of us. We're the best of us. It happens. If that happens, you minimize Chrome, you go back and open the file again. I'm just close this to that personal thing. You make any necessary corrections to this. As we looked in the first video, they are not always obvious corrections. It may say, I don't find our goal. I don't find we bring fresh and innovative ideas to the table. What that's telling you is that the problem is here someplace. Now at this point, I want to introduce something that could happen. Remember in the first video, I told you that I had, and I really did, I had created and done so much editing on this video and my computer crashed and I had to start over. And was I upset? Oh, again, this was a great video, right? It represented a lot of work, a couple days actually. But I had to start over. That's what you got to do. Sometimes you can get so far off that it's just there, you're at a point of no return, right? In that case, you may need to start over. Okay, in that case, you may, I mean, go back to step one, download, and begin again. But most of the time, not so. And please look at your syllabus specifically for the detailed instructions on grading so that you understand what the pass fail is. Okay? So I hope you are enjoying learning and earning. Folks, that's what this is about, is learning. And I hope you're enjoying that. So here we are. We have our 100. We started from the link in pause. The score should transmit to pause for that. Always, always look at your grade book in pause so that you can see your scores. That's your record. So go look at scores. If you see a problem, it's not deliberate, bring it to my attention. I am glad to look and review. As I'm making this video, this is our first foray into the SimNet product. So, email me, right?